Hello and welcome to another edition of the Sports Lounge. Coincidentally, this is the 13th edition of the Sports Lounge.
Lucky number 13.
Wow.
Really, lucky number 13.
If only people
Lucky
knew the
number
story.
13, if only they knew. Begin this week with South Dakota State football. They lost last Saturday at home to number 2 ranked Northern Iowa, 31-14. Not a surprise that they lost, but the first half, tons of action, and there was that big interception at the end of the half at the goal line. And then the second half, turnovers, the issue for SDSU, and Northern Iowa puts them away.
A bit of the shoot yourself in foot syndrome, which has kind of sort of plagued them the entire year. You can't throw interceptions in the end zone to end the half. You can't have the ball at midfield right after turnover and then commit your own turnover.
Yep.
So somebody could easily say that they lost that game in the first half.
Yep.
And really, in particular, that Sumner throw to Rowland in the corner in the end zone towards the end of the first half, I think really kind of got their spirits down, and they couldn't recover from that.
Yeah, and I would agree that, what's the old saying? You can't win it in the first half, but you can certainly lose it. Well, the Jacks didn't play that bad, but when you turn the ball over in bad situations, give the ball to you and I on SDSU's 19, make mistakes, the Rowland interception like you mentioned, no real run game. I think those types of things, and then to just give up the big plays like they did, kind of set them up for failure a little bit in the second half, because then you and I was able to kind of hit and move the ball sort of at will late in the third quarter and into the fourth.
I think the phrase is, if you don't use it, you lose it.
That too.
I think it is, yes.
We'll go with the new phrase. I think they're beyond shooting themselves in the foot, and they're shooting themselves in the knee or the femur now.
With like a cannonball or something.
I mean, they it's kind of like we say this a lot every week. They did some things good. They put up 430 yards. They could move the ball a lot of the time, but I believe they had 4 turnovers and 1 turnover on down, so basically
And a
5
fumble.
turnovers. And you're giving up long touchdown plays, and I mean that happens sometimes, but when you're playing the number 2 team in the country, you really need to bring your A game, and you can't bring. I mean, they looked good at times, but those aren't mistakes you can make when you're playing a top tier team that realistically you and I should be undefeated right now.
We could talk about that sort of ball insecurity as being, all of last year and right into this year. So we're about a year and a half where it is a legitimate problem. It was a legitimate problem when they played Northern Iowa last year. They had an interception right before the half.
Yeah.
Similar. O'Brien threw a ill-advised pass right at the end of half there in Northern Iowa. Happened again this year.
Well, that was similar. It wasn't against you and I last year that they were down there like 2 or 3 times and gave it away every single time.
That's correct, yeah.
I mean, like you said, it has kind of been an ongoing issue, and this is a team that up until there were 9 minutes left in the second quarter had played pretty well. They were winning 14-7 at that point, pretty good, and then you have the punt that may have touched the end line, 80-yard touchdown pass.
Next play,
and then you and I able to march down, take the lead, and then SDSU throws that interception. I mean, to make the mistakes that they did, you can't give you and I short fields. We've mentioned this against a good team, and certainly frustrating if you're an SDSU fan.
I think going forward, the 2 things they need to try to work on, and obviously, I mean, this isn't rocket science or like these are, really astute observations I'm making.
But they are, because they're coming from you.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that. But as long as, they eliminate or at least really hone down the turnovers and don't turn it over so often. And I think defensively, I think it's fair to say that, they're not going to turn into Alabama this year and start stonewalling people. But if they turn into kind of a bend but don't break defense, if they give up yards, up to the 40 or the 30, and instead of giving them touchdowns, force them to kick long field goals, they could still be fairly successful throughout the rest of the season.
And can we talk about, I think there needs to be a sort of a grace period of some sort with Sumner behind center. I mean, we're 3 games into his kind of collegiate career, and he's throwing 45 passes a game. There's tons of emphasis on him already at this point. Why is that? It's because of what they perceive to be what would be an ineffective running game. I don't really know, but something has sort of changed in their approach. Sumner's definitely going to take his licks, and he has. But he's also had some bright spots. I just think people need to look at it as a developing process, not well, hey, why, this is Sumner's fault, because I don't think it's partly that at all. I think Sumner, for the most part, I would say has improved that position from the beginning of the year.
And if you want to get into it, that pass at the end of the first half, not that bad of a throw, I didn't think, other than the corner beat Rollin.
I think you got to get it up higher.
Underthrew it.
Got to get it up higher.
Play. I mean,
yeah. And that last interception, end of the game,
doesn't
throws
matter.
it for the end zone.
It's kind of garbage.
Right.
Like you said, Drew, though, I mean, when push comes to shove, he's a redshirt freshman, and as much weight as they're putting on his shoulders right now, I think he's pretty much playing about as well as you could expect a redshirt freshman to play, especially since he wasn't groomed all the preseason to take the starting role. He kind of got thrust into that spot in the middle of the year.
And he's not in the same spot because O'Brien got playing time as redshirt freshman too. Again, that was 2009. Not the same team in terms of talent, in terms of a defense that could allow for mistakes O'Brien to make.
And part of the problem, and I don't know if you guys mentioned this, but the fact that the part of the problem is that they're relying on Sumner because nobody's helping them. And the fact that a lot of people were pushing for Sumner, and O'Brien, like we mentioned earlier, kind of made that decision for this team by quitting. And now Sumner, he's kind of playing all right for being a redshirt freshman, but they're putting way too much emphasis on him having to carry the team. That's just a fact.
I mean, and let's be honest, if he was even a junior that had started the whole season before, if you looked at his stats, other than a few of the interceptions maybe, it's nothing you can really get upset about. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, if you're throwing it 40, 50 times a game and throwing for 350 yards, I mean, obviously that's pretty good.
Yeah.
Sumner was 37 of 54, tied the completions record for SDSU, 4 away from setting the attempts record. He had 354 yards, 8th best all time, a pair of touchdowns. You mentioned you don't know why the running game hasn't gotten going. And Northern Iowa, they were surprised that SDSU threw the ball so much early on. And you talk to the coaches, they will tell you SDSU is a running team first. That does not appear to be the case recently. And this game was not really out of hand because it was 21-14 into the third quarter. But SDSU continued to throw the ball.
Well, I think here's my reasoning for this sort of fluctuation. Okay. Now they have skill players in Tyrell Cool and Zach Center. These are guys that appear to be good, serviceable players. Center could maybe have a really good career. We don't know yet, but nonetheless, that's not the that block behind in the backfield with Kyle Manette. That's an adjustment they're still kind of trying to make, and that's not something that changes overnight or in the course of one season. Also, I mean, they had a really talented receiving core. I mean, I think they have a pretty. I think Moss is a number one, really.
Yeah.
I mean, who cares if he's inexperienced? I think he is number one caliber. You have a good athletic kid in Rollin, and then you have some pretty good slot guys with. I mean, Brandon Hubert had a lot of catches. I'm still really high on Trevor Tiefenthaler. I think he's a fast, athletic kid. They have weapons. They have tools at those positions, and I think. Meadows is looking at it and saying we can really use these guys, and so that's why they're going in the air 55 times. With
Sumner being here, for the next 3 years, do you see them changing their offense a little bit to give him more of an opportunity?
On a more permanent basis?
Yeah. Because you have to, as a coach, you have your philosophy of what you want to do. Mm-hmm. Everything equal, you want to run, you want to pass, you want to do whatever. But then if you have certain players, like a Sumner, who looks like he's going to be one of the all-time greats early on, 3 games in, then your offense goes around him. You change things a little bit to give you the best chance.
I think a lot of it can be built around how Zenner long-term fits into this offense. Mason Winterbor seems to be a guy down the road that'll be...
Reggie Gandy.
Reggie Gandy from Minnesota.
Exactly. So the kind of group of running backs that they have kind of points to the fact that they might be able to run the ball in the future. It's pretty hard to ignore when you've got a pretty talented quarterback at this point in Sumner that he's not going to be a major focal point in your offense down the road. The way they're throwing it now, and I guess it's hard to look at the receivers down the road and say, well, who will they have? But I would say you'd have to use Sumner maybe 40 pass attempts a game.
I think they're going to still want to be a running team first. I mean, for a couple reasons. The first is that when it gets to be November in Brookings and there's a 30-mile-an-hour wind and it's 15 degrees, it's tougher to throw. Now, not that you can't, but it does make it more difficult. And two is that you can still be a run-first team and be, say, like Wisconsin's been the last few years, and still throw it plenty and be very effective when you throw it. I mean, you can throw it 35 times with 20 of them being off good, solid play-action fakes and have a lot of guys open, deep, and over the middle. I think it just depends how they want to do it and how they want to go about doing things.
They're thinking if only every team defended the swing pass like Southern Utah.
Oh.
No, not the case. Turns out Southern Utah was the exception and not the standard.
SDSU not getting votes in the media poll. However,
Wow.
they are 2-5. They have double-digit votes in the coaches poll.
I don't know. Is that Lamb a
They
voter?
had 11 votes, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, either you've got one team or one person that has them at 14 for the 11 points, or a whole bunch of people.
Wow.
Well, not a whole bunch, but
Half dozen.
6 or so at 25, 24, 23 in there.
Maybe coaches are looking at what SSU has to work with
And who they've
overall.
played. And who they've played.
And it's really just a matter of respect. Like, wow, it's amazing that they're even competing with Northern Iowa provided with what they have to work with.
Based
You know
on
what I'm saying?
Based on what
Funding-wise.
we know and looking at the poll, if SDSU beats NDSU, do they jump into the poll at 3-5? I mean, seriously, how is that? I just cannot get over how SDSU is getting votes. You're 2-5. You are what your record is.
But I mean, I don't. But clearly, a respected program.
I know. I mean, in the media poll and SDSU, they have 3 voters in the media poll who cover or follow the team on a weekly basis. I don't know if I don't know how.
I didn't vote for them.
I didn't. My fake vote didn't go to them, so it's hard to say.
Went to Jacksonville, didn't it?
I voted them number 6, but my poll doesn't count.
If you get an email lobbying, I mean,
6 in the conference?
It's just a matter. It's just a good deed.
Good deed.
Help them out. Give them a vote.
Does SDSU lobby for votes?
I don't think they do.
I wouldn't think so.
You guys, I mean,
I'll go on record and saying
Everybody else
no.
does it.
okay.
I would. I mean,
You're not trying hard enough.
I'm not gonna pretend and sit here that like
Just think
Coach
if they
Stig
would.
and I are best
How many-
friends, but since we do talk on the radio
Yeah,
show,
yeah.
he doesn't come across as a guy that would be saying, "Hey, can you guys please vote for us so
Yeah.
we're in the poll?"
If they would want to come see that show, where would they go and when would they do so?
Let's see. It'd be Wednesday,
Yep.
6 o'clock
See?
in the Union. Apparently, it's called Main Street of the Union.
Boom. As
Not
opposed
Main
to
Street downtown. You'll be by yourself.
It's
Main
all
Street of the Union, though.
Yeah.
Rolling Stones. How about we didn't posit how many
about
wins.
them Cowboys?
How many wins the rest of the year?
I'm on record as saying they win this week against North Dakota State. A couple weeks ago, I'm on record as saying that will come true.
Okay.
So I will say 2 more wins.
I have one more win. I think it's going to happen against Southern Illinois.
No
Bob
Mo
Wonder
State?
Stadium.
Mo State?
I think they lose to Mo State.
Yeah.
I think Southern Illinois.
I'm going to go with 3 more, and they tie their record of last year.
Nice.
I like consistency.
I feel
Clearly.
2.
2?
Both on the road, Missouri State, Western Illinois.
Okay. We'll preview that North Dakota State matchup on the show later in the week. But coming up next, we'll get to the NFL and college football right here on the Sports Lounge. We look at the NFL and big-time college football now. We'll start with the NFL. The Lions and 49ers game of the week kind of lived up to the hype. Nice, close finish there, but the thing that overshadowed it at the end there were the 2 coaches getting into it. Where do we stand on that? Harbaugh, it looks like he's taking the blame.
I look at it as Jim Harbaugh is stuck in his college football coaching type mode where he tries getting late touchdowns to beat USC by 50 or, calling timeouts late in the game when you're up by 30, et cetera, et cetera. Basically, all I'm saying is that Harbaugh does not, either he understands decorum that you should probably not do what you did there, or he knows exactly what he did. Let me ask you this: that was a road victory, right?
It was.
By all accounts, fine, a big win. Does Harbaugh react like that if it's a home game?
I think so, yeah.
Basically, I'm saying I think Harbaugh put on a little bit of performance there, and it was kind of in the back of his mind that, big road win. I'm gonna be a big kind of tough guy and whatnot. So I think Harbaugh was way out of line. Some people thought, oh, whatever, no big deal. But it's like blatant disrespect. I mean, I thought Schwartz had every right to go after him like that. He kind of gave him a little bit of he should have given him
It was
arm action.
It was definitely theatrical.
Yeah.
Like it was almost as soon as he got to the end of the game, 30 seconds left. Yeah, I'm gonna run out there and I'm gonna smack him right.
It was a close. If it's not a close game at the end, there,
He's not doing that.
then you're not doing that. If you win by 3
But
touchdowns, no.
I think part of it is, I can't smack Charlie
Jesus.
in the back and expect Charlie not to react.
React to that.
Schwartz is gonna come after me, like I don't know. He's gonna go after you, and I guess I can't blame Schwartz for running him down. And then apparently they were cussing each other out and whatever. But
Hey, you dirty rat. No.
that's
James Cagney style.
That's the exact quote too.
And then his brother, is it
Bobby
it's John,
Schwartz.
right?
Bobby
John
Schwartz.
Harbaugh.
John Harbaugh gets asked by the Ravens media types about the incident, and he's like, "Oh, that happened? No, I could see it." Basically, is what he said. So yeah.
I don't know. First off, I'll say I think they're making too big of a deal about this. I honestly don't really care at all. And I'll say, I'll just take the side that I think they both kind of screwed up. I think Harbaugh was kind of being a little bit of a jerk about the whole thing. But like I said, I don't care about it. It doesn't bother me that he did. But he could have been different. And then obviously Schwartz could have not been, I'm so angry I lost, and I'm going to take it all out on you right now. And it kind of seemed like one of those things where there were 4, 5, 6 times where easily someone could have just said, we're going to stop this right now and it'll be over with. And no one ever did that. And they just kept saying, you know what? I'm fine with going along with this if you are. And no one decided to just say, well, we'll be adults here and stop.
And Charlie mentioned it pre-show. What does Schwartz always do when the Lions win? Big old fist pump, and he's so excited. And I bet Harbaugh was thinking about that. Oh yeah, I'm gonna run over there and smack him across the face. And
I'm on Harbaugh's side on this.
Oh yeah.
I'll disagree with you.
like
Okay.
that.
Yeah, nice handshake. I shook his hand too tough. Well, we're not.
It wasn't more about that. He pretty much passed.
And they
right
patted
by
him on the back. Well, he's excited. He won a game. They're the second best team in the NFC now. More surprising than the Lions, I would say. Yeah. The Minnesota Vikings. They have problems. They have troubles. Quarterback. I'm in favor of making the change.
As am I.
You are?
Yep. And I'm in favor of making it right now.
Yeah.
Because what do you have to lose? It goes back to the point we've talked about for a couple weeks now. If you're set on moving towards the future and the future is Christian Ponder, you might as well go now.
Yep.
And quit dragging out McNabb. Now the big holdup is you paid McNabb $5 million. Well,
You little snip, you gone.
that was probably $3.5 million
Would
too
have
much
given him a vasectomy or what?
for his value.
May as well.
4.8 million.
I think he had those cut off quite a while ago.
I think you're right. I mean, the point is
Yes,
that Ponder, he did some good stuff last night in garbage time against the Bears.
Their first
Second
the starters were out there.
Yeah, but it's different when you're up 29 points. You're not gonna.
But
whether
the
you
throw,
say it or not, you're not gonna play as hard on defense.
but the throws were there. Some of those throws were right on the money, perfect throws that he's leading guys, and the pressure that the Bears brought was just ungodly.
Yeah, but he had some scattered throws like McNabb is known to have too, though.
But his are on the run, and McNabb, he's set.
I think we're missing the big picture. Yes, quarterback is an issue. The Vikings can't block. The Vikings can't cover anybody defensively. They don't have. I mean, they had one sack from Jared Allen in a game where the Vikings were looking good to get some sacks, and they didn't perform. And, I mean, they don't have the best wide receivers. This is not a very good team. For people who say that they still have the pieces to go back to the NFC Championship Super Bowl, no. That time is over. The Vikings are past that.
They have the running back. They have the defensive end with Jared Allen.
That's
Other
what
than
they
that,
have. They have Percy Harvin, and that's it.
Yeah,
They have a good defensive line.
Sure.
Yeah.
Well, and that's kind of what I was going to say. I mean, let's be serious. They're just not very good right now. And that happens in today's day and age with so much turnover and free agency and stuff. And, you know, in regards to Ponder, I mean, just to kind of play devil's advocate, I don't know. Obviously, none of us know how ready he is for the NFL or not. And you could make a case that no one's ever completely ready, and you kind of have to start swimming at some point. But if he's not ready, you don't want to throw him in on a team that's not very good and have him get the living crap kicked out of him and lose all his confidence then, and then become, like a Tim Couch or a David Carr or something like that.
Well, I don't think there's a tried and true way to develop a quarterback. There's guys.
Wow, that is
an enormous bug on Travis's shoulder.
That. Wow.
What do we got here, Chief?
I'm not going anywhere near that.
Needs to,
Get that out.
No, don't hit me. Can I flick it?
Or you're just going to get hit a bunch.
It's still struggling
Well.
mightily.
wow.
Don't worry, there will be a web redemption about this later.
We go to station break. We'll be right back. after this.
When did that get here?
I have no idea.
I don't know where that came from.
I have no idea.
Came from my beard.
Let's go to a commercial and regain our composure here a little bit. We'll be right back. Travis, are you okay?
I'm fine. Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Okay.
You still have a little bit of a leg on your arm.
That was something. That was ridiculous. I tried getting it without smacking you in the head, and
I'm glad while it was on his shoulder, you were trying not to hit him in the head.
The shoulder and the head are close in proximity.
is he dead?
I'll let him suffer. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, I don't think he's going to make it to the ER in time to get fixed.
Go to this camera.
Bring it back.
Yeah, continuing the Vikings talk here. I'm in favor of it. You're in favor of it. You let them sit a little bit.
I'm not in favor of it, but like I said, I'm not a Vikings fan. So
Here's my little. Here you go. Okay.
No true way of developing a quarterback. Some guys go in right away and end up being really successful. Others,
And they struggle at first, and then they do good.
Others will be on the sideline for 2-3 years, like an Aaron Rodgers, and and flourish from there. What I would just say is they should go with Ponder, but take your expectations and basically out the back door, because rookie quarterbacks are going to take their lumps. I can go back to 2-3 years ago with that 09 class of Stafford, Sanchez, Freeman, and all three of those guys had games where they threw 3-4 picks, but you got to take it. It's a learning experience. He's developing. It takes time. You're 1-5. It's at this point, I think win-loss is a bit secondary.
Absolutely, when you're at 1-5, and you look at Ponder, I think he did better than McNabb. If you look at the stats and didn't watch the game, you look at Ponder, he was 10-17, 90-some yards, no touchdowns, no picks. You look at McNabb, 19-24, a couple drop passes, 177 yards. You look at that, and it's the same thing that I thought in Washington last year, not having watched many of their games. I'm looking at these stats from McNabb, like, they're not bad. And you look at that, that's not bad. He's not turning the ball over. But then when you watch the game and see how he's, not throwing receivers open at all, he's skipping balls, the whole gamut of what you can do not to be an effective quarterback. And then you look at Ponder, and obviously, as I mentioned, the rush was very good for Chicago, and he could run a little bit, and he got out of there, made some plays with his feet. McNabb, that ain't going to happen anymore. So as you mentioned, the offensive line, not good. So you put in a quarterback that can make plays with a bad offensive line, and Ponder is that guy above anybody else.
Well, comes down to the coach. When are they going to get rid of Brad Childress for good?
Yeah.
Because I think he still exists a little bit on that sideline.
Let's put it on Frazier here, 6 games in.
Your feelings,
Really?
I think me and
Did you see how they started that
I'm
season?
being sarcastic.
Okay.
There are people who want him fired for some unforeseen reason. Why? He's 6 games in with his team.
He's not 6 games in.
I don't count
10?
last year because
He coached the games, didn't he? He was the head coach
That's
of
Brad
those games.
Childress' guys. Now is his.
His
They don't
coaching
call him
staff-
officially.
Not all that much different. Much of the same players.
And I understand
Different
that.
offense.
It's different. It's different offense. It's not the kick-ass offense anymore with Brad Childress.
It's the boring. It's the
much more boring.
3rd and 8, 4 yards, boom.
I think I'm kind of surprised. I think, and you can blame Frazier here, is of the games, the first 6 games, you pull McNabb in a game where he's having a statistically strong performance. You didn't pull him against any of the other Kansas City when he was bouncing every other ball to receivers.
Differences, very statistically misleading, as we mentioned, and this game was out of hand. All those
Yeah.
other games were close. Kansas City, Detroit,
Yeah.
Tampa Bay, San Diego, they were all within the Vikings' grasp. And we talk about how bad a team they are when they're 2 plays from being, 500.
They're not. They're 1-5.
Absolutely, they are not. Yes.
They're not very good.
Make the move to Ponder. You can't do any worse as a team, obviously. So the time is now, I think, to move on, cut your losses while you can. Tampa Bay Buccaneers now leading the division. I think this team little inflated. I think 4-2, not a good 4-2.
Really? You don't think so?
And you'll disagree. Yes.
2-0 in the division.
Yep.
All right. So they came back from 17 down against Minnesota.
Yep. Expected. Yeah.
I mean, I disagree. I think
You disagree? I mean, okay.
4-2 is 4-2.
It really doesn't matter how they won.
Head
it's
coach
just-
Head coach Raheem Morris is basically saying he'll tell you right to your face. Stats for losers. It doesn't matter how you win or who you win against. It's just that you outscore your opponents. And then 2, the second credo they have is sort of this next man up sort of motto that they have, where they get injuries. So what? Here comes the next guy, this next young kid, out to prove himself. And it's working. And I think to beat a 4-1 team in a franchise that New Orleans has become like that, that's unimpressive to you. I don't know. I think Tampa Bay's a pretty good team. I think they're pretty good.
I don't think they are. Could they be? It's early on, but could they be the Falcons of this year? They have a lot of wins, but it's like if they play an elite team.
No, because I don't think they're going to win 13 games. But I think that NFC South is more up for grabs. It's not going to be the NFC South that it was last year. I don't mean there's not going to be 3 10-win teams. Is what I'm saying. But I think right now Tampa Bay is the best team in that division. Absolutely.
In regards to what you were saying, I kind of agree that most divisions in the NFL by now, either myself or people as a whole have a pretty good grasp on how things are kind of shaking out. I really can't get a good grasp on the NFC South, though, right now. I mean, obviously, I don't think the Panthers are going to come back and win the division, but I don't think the Falcons will either, but I could possibly see it happening. And obviously, I could see either the Saints or the Buccaneers doing it right now, too. And they've looked good at times, they've looked bad at times. So, I don't know. I think, long story short, it'll probably be the most interesting division race in the NFL.
Good for the Buccaneers. Call me in January. That's what I have to say.
Call.
I honestly
Going old school.
Oh, yeah. You're gonna look at your phone January 1, all right? And
Who's
you're gonna look
calling me?
Who's calling me? It's gonna say Tampa Bay on it.
Really,
There we go.
really.
Yeah, absolutely right.
What's that area code?
Tampa Bay's going to take the time to call me.
Oh,
You
you just
asked me.
switch someone's name in your phone book to Tampa Bay, and then if
Okay.
you do get called and it says
Good-
Tampa
good
Bay,
Tampa Bay.
it's going to be pretty neat.
Exactly right. Exactly
The
right.
difference between the Vikings and Tampa Bay? Vikings are 0-4 in their one possession games decided by one possession. Tampa Bay's 4-1. Funny how that works.
It's funny how it works. There's a reason for that.
They come back to beat the Vikings. They win by 4. They beat the worst team in the NFL by 7 at home Monday night, the Colts. They beat Atlanta by 3. They beat the Saints by 6.
In that Colts game, by all means, ugly game.
Ugly game.
Doesn't matter. They won.
Somebody that's not ugly, who's beautiful as all hell. Clemson Tigers. Another, it was 35-17. They were going to say, I heard somebody in the press box who will not be mentioned, who sits by the Charlie. The route is on. The route is on in Maryland. Well, I believe they put up damn near 50. Yeah, they put up 56. 56-45 win over Maryland.
111 total points.
Boom, the route, not on.
Not on.
It was not.
Well, it was just the other one.
Yeah.
And the
Clemson?
crazy part is, hardest part of their schedule is over.
No.
What's the hardest game? Georgia Tech?
At Georgia Tech, at South Carolina.
Well, they've already beaten Florida State.
Florida State's
South
a
Carolina
7-win
doesn't have
team.
Marcus Lattimore anymore.
They have to
He's
play
out
Wake
for the
Forest.
season now.
Wake Forest, too. 3 of their final 4 are at home.
Well, I think you can look at the rest of that schedule and say, Clemson has a chance to win all 4 of those games.
I don't. It's tough.
It's tough. It's tough.
I still think they're looking at 10, 11, and 1.
Yeah, I
in the
think
face.
they are, but I think that undefeated
We need
season,
12-0,
what
13-0.
Yeah, if Clemson is going to make the big run here, they can't afford to lose. They just can't.
And this was the
That's
game
true.
that we did not look at, and this was the classic game that you would expect. Well, here it comes again. A nondescript Maryland team going to end their season.
Felt like it, and it didn't happen. I mean, give
No.
Clemson credit for rallying back against a team in Maryland that not only do they have a uniform crisis usually on their hands, but couldn't close out Clemson at home.
I think with the BCS rankings out now, it'll be interesting to
Oh,
see
look
how
at
it
you.
goes forward
Look at
because
you.
they're what Clemson's like 8 right now, or 7. They're not in the top 4. The top 4 all control their own destiny right now because 1 and 4 or 3 and 4 and 2 or 1 and 2 play each other. So if 1 through 4, any of them win out, they're playing for the national title. Nobody else can say that right now. And Clemson, I mean, if they win out, they'll obviously have a great shot at it. But does the we're lower and we need to play well to impress kind of, I mean, when you've got the bullseye on your back and at the same time you're not just trying to win, you're trying to win big and look good, that sometimes, especially with teams like Clemson that appear to kind of be a little inexperienced. I mean, they've got some really good players.
Well, their
but a
quarterback,
lot of
first-year
young
starter.
guys, though. If they can kind of keep this going forward, I think it'll be interesting. I mean, obviously they have the talent to do it. It'll be interesting to see if they will do it.
You mentioned the BCS standings, and a team that has played it about as well as they can would be Wisconsin. They're number 5. Is that correct?
6.
6. They're kind of looking odd man out here, even if they do run the table, because if you've got Alabama, LSU, and is it Oregon and Stanford that are ahead of them too?
Oklahoma, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma,
Yeah.
Oregon. Okay.
Yep.
So
No, Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, Boise.
okay. So I mean, there's 5 capable teams of running the table ahead of them. There's gonna be a lot of Wisconsin fans that aren't happy because they're gonna be left out if there's
Bring
a
it
couple
on.
undefeated.
More undefeated, the better.
No, I know, and I agree. I
Yeah.
hope Clemson, Wisconsin. I don't hope Wisconsin's undefeated, but if they end up, I hope there's 4 or 5 undefeateds because that
4 or
just-
5 champions.
I don't
right
always
there.
root for
right.
chaos, but if Oklahoma and Alabama play for the national title and Stanford and Wisconsin are both undefeated and make the biggest Rose Bowl game
Boom!
in
How
history,
great would
I
that
would
be?
I mean, now don't get me wrong. It's not that I didn't like TCU last year, but I didn't want TCU in the Rose Bowl
No,
because
I
I
didn't.
wanted Wisconsin and Stanford to play and
Yep.
see who would, quote unquote, physically outman the other team. And maybe
That
we'll
would
see
be
that this
awesome.
year. I think you could make a case that it would be the most interesting game of the bowl season.
because I love bowl season, but by the time I get to halftime of the Rose Bowl,
You're spent.
I'm spent. And
Well,
I'm like,
yeah. I mean,
I'm-
you're a little,
I've been-
tired from New Year's.
I've been watching football all day, and I'm like, the Rose
It's
Bowl,
too much.
The Rose Bowl stinks again.
I know it is true. Yeah, the Rose Bowl hasn't. What's happened to the Rose Bowl?
And then I turn on the Fiesta
Vikings
To be
Bowl.
fair,
Bowl.
to be
And
fair,
it's-
the last 2 Rose Bowls have been pretty good.
Yeah,
But
Actually, you're right.
And then it's.
But
and
there
then
have been a lot of bad
You know,
ones
you watch the
recently.
night game, and it's Connecticut, Oklahoma, and Oklahoma
Click.
rolls them.
Oklahoma doesn't even play that well and still wins easily.
Have LSU and Bama 1-2, OU and Oklahoma State 3-4, Boise at 5, and like you said, LSU and Alabama, they're going to play. Somebody's going to lose. Same with Oklahoma, Oklahoma State, and you have Wisconsin and Clemson there at 6 and 7. Looking at the 6 computer rankings, 4 of them had a surprising team at number 1.
I bet it's Oklahoma State.
I bet you're right. They had 4 of these 6 computers had Oklahoma State at number 1.
So what are you trying to say?
Kind of ridiculous, because I don't think anybody would say that they are. I mean,
Nobody would say they're the best team in the country.
no, they're not. LSU, Alabama, their defense would shut that spread down like this show. Boom.
Well, we're still going strong, man. We're
Yeah.
like 20 episodes in.
Yeah.
Think of all the episodes that have not aired 25 times.
There hasn't been as many BCS title games as this show,
That's well.
even though they are on
don't
once a
play-
year.
They
There we
don't
go.
I think one
They don't
thing.
play 2 title games a week.
One thing that doesn't bother me about it, though, is it's using math and using formulas and things
Which
to
is
take
stupid.
variables. Well, the thing is I don't even. It's early right now, and more games are going to be played, and it's going to change. I mean, and like we've said before, the coaches poll and the Harris poll make up 2/3 of it. So if you're first or second in both of those, in all likelihood, you'll be first or second in the BCS then.
It goes back to that classic debate that coaches and even the media members who vote in this poll aren't going to see every game. And obviously computers don't watch one single game. Do you evaluate teams by the eye or who they beat? I don't know. It's convoluted regardless.
Whoa. Marcus Traxler, winner the day.
Well, let's put it this way. The BCS was invented for a way to compare apples to oranges,
Marcus
more or
gets a star.
less. And it doesn't always work. People don't always like it, but that's what it
Strawberries.
was set up to do, to make, the tough decision that nobody else wanted to,
Yeah, well,
more or less. I mean, now that's
somebody's
an
gonna have to
extremely
make a tough-
simplified version, but
humans will have to make tough decisions at the end of the regular season when there's 5 undefeated teams.
mark it down, there will be no more than 3 undefeated teams.
Boise and the Big 12 SEC winners.
Yeah, that's my thought.
Like you said.
Because I've seen this happen so many times before that right now there's 5, 6, 7 undefeated teams, and they always talk about this. And the thing that, and I fall for this too, everyone forgets about this. There's still games to be played, and the other team's trying to win the game too. Is Clemson good? They're very good. Are they absolutely lights out better than everyone else they play the rest of the season? No. And it's the same with everybody else.
Okay, Charlie made his prediction on how the BCS is going to roll out. 3 BCS teams will be undefeated in Boise State at the end of the year.
You like Wisconsin and
One
those.
undefeated.
No, I actually liked Clemson. Remember, Clemson is the Auburn of 04.
Okay.
Clemson, the Auburn of 04.
Yep.
Didn't you, I swear at the beginning of that Clemson talk, you said that they would lose a couple games.
I felt like they would, but those teams that they
Now you're
played,
saying they're going to finish undefeated.
those teams that they played are gone now.
I
Florida
think they
State-
will lose because Georgia Tech, despite their
What
loss,
about Georgia Tech?
it's going to be tough.
Figure out that offense. You got them shut down.
They do. But then you have South Carolina at the end, and I really don't
South Carolina's a
think
tough one.
at South Carolina. They got at Wake Forest, which they seem
Without
to be
Garcia.
a surprise team,
Wake Forest.
which
I
may
know-
be a good thing.
I know we have a big Clemson contingent that watches this
We
show,
do.
and they're going to hate me saying this, but I still think they're going to lose 3 games. Just because it's what
more than
Clemson
2.
seems to do all the time, that they always
They've just
underwhelm and
they've
underachieve.
suspended it a few weeks.
Because if they do go undefeated, they're going to have impressive wins on the road. They're going to go to South
yeah,
Carolina.
they have the
and win.
resume for
They're
sure.
going to Wake Forest may be ranked. They're going to go to Georgia Tech, beat them. They're going to play a Virginia Tech possibly or somebody in the ACC championship. So they're going to have 6 or 7 ranked teams at the time they played them that they're going to defeat. Which probably LSU is the only team that could challenge something like that.
Well, maybe it's a thing where the storm. It's just a perfect storm, Clemson has all these disappointing years. The one year where things just seem to go right for them all year long. They haven't had any major injuries. They've won these games on the road that they would traditionally lose. Maybe this is a different Clemson year. Is all I'm saying. We're almost at the end of October here, and they're still playing well. Comeback victory, scoring a ton of points. That offense is potent. Maybe it's a different Clemson team. It's maybe what I'm getting at.
It might be. They were down, 18 points to Maryland?
third
Every
quarter.
other Clemson team of the last decade would have completely folded and lost by 35 points.
Yeah.
So
You
might be right.
Has there ever been a team that nationally everybody is waiting to collapse like Clemson?
The Vikings in the NFL?
I'm talking about college
Honestly,
teams.
I think maybe Michigan State, and that's about it. Because I think Michigan State does that a lot too.
Oklahoma
But
in
I
the
think it's a good
championships.
point.
No, I'm just talking about this year, though. Have you ever thought of
No.
one single year where a team's undefeated and everyone nationally, except
here's the deal.
outside of Clemson,
Here's the
South Carolina, is waiting for this team to?
I wait for the Boise State collapse every year.
I can't wait till. it
Unfortunately, I'm in
And
the same boat.
besides
and it doesn't
last year,
happen
you were
very often.
Well, when you're playing Teachers College of Indiana,
Rulers.
5 weeks out of the year, it's tough to wait for that collapse because a lot of times it don't happen.
That made that Nevada game last year.
But then
sweet.
Kaepernick and the Wolfpack make my day.
Good for them.
Yep.
Coming up next here in the Sports Lounge, somebody that has never been on the show will be on the show.
Hot Wheels! So hot! They're here
Obvious color racers! Yeah!
with new paint jobs, awesome speed, cool style.
Radical color change! It's like a new car!
Hot Wheels! With Hot Wheels Wheels color racers use warm or ice water.
Let 'em rip!
So hot! Hot Wheels color racers are so hot!
So cool!
Cars sold in 3-packs, not for use with some sets. Tracks sold separately. Hot Wheels color racers from Mattel.
We have the twin brother of Marcus Traxler.
The special guest that
Special
we said
guest.
at the beginning of the show.
Introduce yourself there.
Larry.
Larry Traxler. Larry Traxler. Very
You and
good.
your brother have a remarkable resemblance.
Same
It's unbelievable. Right?
mannerisms too, like
Unbelievable.
Same blue phone.
Same
Yep.
clothes.
Is that weird or what? I mean, I try to be as different as I can from him, but it's weird how we both have sports editor positions at newspapers, college newspapers.
You're like the Palmer quarterbacks.
It's weird.
Who's the better / cooler brother of you two?
I'd have to go with myself.
Larry.
that's interesting.
Interesting.
This whole cloning thing really took off. I like it.
It's weird.
Weird.
You were born in a lab.
No, I wasn't. No.
Okay.
A dog?
In a laboratory.
Okay.
Not
That is
not
insulting.
in a Labrador.
That is actually insulting to be talking about that when I'm sitting here.
Oh yeah, Marcus, he left.
I like Marcus better.
Yeah. Speaking of none of that, we there's no transition from cloning to anything. But Chip Kelly, his team won over Arizona State on Saturday. Nice conference win for them. He does the post-game interview with Aaron Andrews, and we'll see some fans behind him get a little rowdy.
Oregon 41, Arizona State 27. Let's go down below with Aaron.
Well, a big play by your defense there in the end, but the big question all week long will be about your quarterback, your offense. What do you know about Darren Thomas's injury?
He gets injured in the game. Hey, will you shut up?
Thank you.
We don't know. We'll get inside and figure it out.
What did he say to you when he came out of the locker room?
That he wanted to play.
And what'd you say?
I said, I think we got a lead right now, and Brian's doing a good job.
What did you think about Brian's effort tonight when he came in?
Outstanding. You know, a young kid comes off the bench. The first game experience, really. He played in a couple blowouts earlier in the year, but, you know, real credit to him. I thought he played with some poise. You know, first time ever playing in a game. He'll remember this night.
And then finally, you said your backfield would be okay without LaMichael. How would you evaluate their performance?
I thought they did a good job. You know, the fumble early. Kenyon said, my bad, we'll get back to it. But I thought they did a really good job. That's a good defense. So that's a good football team. So.
Thanks, Chip.
All right, thanks, Ian.
Do you think we'll see? Will you shut up again?
Hey, man. You wonder why his quarterbacks get that attitude.
Chip Kelly, you saw, he said, shut up, would you?
It was, would you kids shut up?
They weren't even on his lawn. They were on his field.
Hey, that's
I almost
Chip
feel like
Kelly's
someone
domain.
should have pulled a mask off, and he would have said, "I would have gotten away with it too if it wasn't for you meddling
Middling
kids."
kids.
Yeah.
You bet.
Yeah,
Reaction.
it's
Larry.
I don't know what to think was more different about that. Was it Chip Kelly yelling at kids that were on the field that were like 13 years old?
They looked young.
Or was it the Aaron Andrews thank you? That's
Well, it's the whole, you know, Aaron Andrews is like a topic of her own. The
Yeah.
whole, like, I'm a journalist, but yet I'm a celebrity. She's
and
more of a
also
celebrity.
I endorse stuff.
And I also endorse stuff. Let's not conflicts of interest
Abound.
aside. Yes.
Two things that kind of strike me is now I haven't seen it, but obviously from us talking about it, I think I've got a pretty good grasp on what happened.
You do.
But if they look young, you know, I've heard some people think they might have been like high school students, some college. Either way, I'm not saying they were, but I think there's a decent chance maybe they had been drinking a little bit and get a little excited. Sometimes that happens.
Root beer.
So that could have played a part in it. And then B, I mean, Chip Kelly's won big games before. I'm sure this isn't the first time there have been people behind him yelling and screaming, you know, very excited and exuberantly while he's been giving an interview. I mean, I guess I'm just kind of surprised he was so upset about it.
And he's
Because
done this.
You know, there have been 3 times that many fans behind him, much louder.
Yeah.
And apparently, you know, I guess he wanted to beat Arizona State by more and was upset that a whole bunch of his players got hurt or something.
I'm glad he did it.
I believe he's done this before, standing up for Aaron Andrews, because there were some people giving her some grief.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you. Why, like we said, I don't even know what they were doing on the field. They beat a 19th ranked Arizona State team.
Game they should have won. And
Should've
then
won.
In a game where they've won, 25 straight home games, too, and they're ranked in the top 10, and played for the national title last year.
There needs to be
protocols
laws put down, and here's when you can run onto the field. Here's when you can.
And storming the court for basketball.
Jacks win against SDSU this weekend. He stormed the field.
If anybody, they won't.
I've never seen a student base storm the field or storm the court at an SDSU event in my
We saw Oakland do
tenure.
it at the Summer League tournament.
Oakland,
they stormed the court. We didn't storm the court when the women won.
Yeah, one guy did. One guy did.
Yep.
Yeah.
I don't see why not. Well, is it because we're so passive, just in general, or
it's because here at South Dakota State we expect championships.
Yeah, apparently.
If any time we should have rushed the field, it was when they beat SDSU in 07. Conference title on the line for the Great West, number one ranked team in the country.
If there was
undefeated.
a time to do it, that was the time.
I don't
to do
remember. I feel like there kind of was one.
But we need all 2,000 of them just to go nuts.
Yeah.
Tear down those.
And all those
start the
all those students sit along those rails anyway. You know, they're sitting there for 60 minutes itching to get on the field, and then they up and leave when the game's over.
Yeah.
It's like,
why can't this happen though? Because
here's what I'm saying. If SDSU beats
get the camera on
NDSU,
Marcus's face
right over here. Storm the field.
Whoa!
Do it.
Because is there even going to be any discipline hashed out? People will understand, right? I just don't
people
think
better
I don't see
understand
what the big deal is. I mean, I'm not saying go knock down the goalpost.
No, that's different.
For legal reasons, I'm going to say don't hold me accountable if someone goes to prison for trying.
Well, yeah, it's not. Drew and I are saying it's okay. Don't tear down the goalpost.
Festive, great, and also good photo opportunities with
for
this.
newspapers.
I don't want to start a formal campaign for this, but
we should do that.
Just raising in question. Why don't SDSU students, fans of SDSU,
well,
why aren't they more demonstrative?
Let's be really clear here. If SDSU loses 38-13, they're not going to be storming the field. But
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that.
They'll be storming the dorm rooms.
I want people to be ready in case this does happen. Don't be shocked.
Here's what I want.
It just takes one. Just one group of 3-4 guys.
And all of a sudden, yep.
There we go.
Because this is a gang mentality here at SDSU anyway.
It really is.
Fan mob mentality.
We're a bunch of sheep in a herd, basically, and there's no
king sheep.
There's no king sheep. You know what I'm saying? That can.
There's no shepherd to lead all those sheep.
There's no Pied Piper.
These...
Who's the Pied Piper?
No Pied Pipers.
Oh, I would like to see a sports lounge sign at a game.
Yes.
That's what I would like to see.
That would be sweet.
No. Even if we would have to make it and give it to somebody.
All right, let's get this camera back over here.
Okay.
Get this camera back in Marcus's face.
Larry's face.
Fans. Fans. Sports lounge signs. Occupy Coffin Alumni Stadium is what I say.
And Frost Arena for volleyball and basketball games, too.
Yes.
There's not as many people at volleyball, and volleyball has an inordinate number of signs. So they stick out more.
If you see Travis or I, one, you can come stand right behind us because there'll be plenty of seats available. And you can show us a sign. And if you care about my autograph, I'll sign it for you. Or if you don't want me to sign it, I won't sign it.
You have a trunk full of photos.
Would never do that.
You have a trunk full of photos signed already.
To be fair, none of us have careers yet.
Larry has
if all of us signed it, there's a chance one of us could, or maybe all four of us could end up being really famous.
That'd be huge.
I'm not saying it's going to happen, but it's a possibility.
People are going to look back on the show 15 years from now and go, that was a great TV show.
This will be like that picture someone took and it had Elvis Presley and James Dean and all those famous people in the 50s before they were famous.
Yes.
Except instead of a picture,
it moves.
We need what we need. And this
We're
is
still on
different.
frickin'
But after
Kelly.
one of these shows, we need to have a photo of us on set as the official sports lounge.
We'll get a photographer.
I mean, you're tied up today with the tie, so that's good for you.
Get the cameraman.
Someday when I'm a little bit more dressed up than this.
When you're
unfortunately,
Clemson.
I'm wearing my Harry Potter shirt right now.
Your Clemson garb.
Or you guys aren't going to let Larry be in the photo.
I was going to say, I don't know why you would be in
wait
it.
for Marcus to come back.
Okay.
Marcus come back.
Okay.
Well, if Marcus gets hurt, you could be in the photo instead. No one would know the difference.
So we need a photographer.
And we need you, since Marcus can't because he works with me.
Right. That's why
Larry to be painted up.
I'm
Saturday
leading the Occupy
Coughlin.
Alumni Stadium.
Occupy Coughlin.
So here's the question. If they're up
Tweet
by
about it.
like 4 with 30 seconds left and North Dakota State has the ball in the red zone, are you going to leave the press box and go downstairs so you can start the running onto the
Marcus
field?
isn't leaving the press box. Marcus might be heading for the dike house.
When did we go third person all of a sudden?
Marcus.
Okay. That's,
Marcus goes. I can go to the presser. Marcus, in the instance that fans run onto the field, that's news.
Marcus will be down there.
And you're talking
and
to
Larry will be down there too.
Larry,
that was the third.
Larry will be
person.
leading the charge. Marcus will be coming up with the story. I'll go to the presser.
That's gonna be huge.
We got this all organized. It's gonna be big.
That Larry leads.
Yeah.
Yeah. No kidding.
Now Marcus will be pretty upset if, with 90 seconds left, he's down near the field and then nobody storms. So be committed. Wow.
If you're a great leader, then they'll follow.
That's
so
right.
hopefully you, since you'll be the one who would lead the charge, are capable. Watch Braveheart Friday night. give you good advice.
nice.
What about 300?
No. And what's with that? They're making it like a basically from.
Same
There's
thing.
a movie coming out.
Same thing.
I forget
also.
what it's called. It's basically 300.
301.
Part 2.
Wow.
Oh. I remember
It's
people
immortal.
joking saying there'd be a
Immortal,
sequel
isn't
and
it?
calling it like 500, and apparently they actually are making a sequel.
500, the story of.
300.
No.
With a couple,
The story of the
more.
Spartans who wouldn't let the Persians go back home.
From the producers of 300, the same movie.
It's 500, the story of Chicago Bears football or something. I don't know. We need a photographer for this little thing that's not going to happen. It could, but we need a photographer, and one of them, possibly we could get the guy at the Minnesota-Arizona game 2 weeks ago, or the guy at the Oregon-Arizona State game. You look at this video, decide which one you'd rather have.
Right back for third and goal. So you say you want to stand on the sidelines of an NFL game? The cameraman getting wiped out by Devin Aromashadu on the incomplete pass. Vikings.
Buckling his chin strap, trying to get ready there, right guard.
Trying to get the play call. Snap count. Osweiler steps away, and a beautiful completion, and Robinson breaks for the end zone. He'll be forced out of bounds in the red zone, and a big hit is taken on the sideline by a man over there. He is down.
I think the Minnesota Vikings photographer got hit. I think it's more spectacular hit.
A little messier looking, I would say, which in turn could be considered, better. But I like the Arizona State one a little bit better. I saw it live, which obviously
helps.
That's awesome.
Helps
I saw both live, both of them live.
Okay, so you have a good input in that regard. I liked.
I do.
But the thing is, I like what happened afterward with the Oregon Arizona State thing, with the almost cinematic sort of dying in my arms sort of thing. I thought that was really cool. I like that. Got a laugh. I hope he turned out okay. I'm guessing he did. He's a cameraman. They're tough.
Arizona State guy, he looked like he was a little bit more indirect. He's coming up the sideline, all of a sudden veers off, smacks the camera guy. Whereas the Viking, or the, was it a Cardinals guy? No, it was Berrien who ran into him, right?
Aroma should do.
Anyway, runs right through him. I mean, just straight in there. And for that, I don't think
This
that's
I feel like the Oregon Arizona State one was a bigger hit because the guy didn't react. But I felt like the other guy had, or for the Vikings game, had more time to react but didn't, which I don't know. I just find that weird. It
I
seemed
think
like he was further out of bounds and had more time to say, "Oh, gee, I need to get out of the way so this guy doesn't run me over."
I'm hung up on the straight line versus curved line into him. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Arizona State was curved.
I'm hung up on why the NFL Films guys have to wear like the khaki-colored vests.
Because you need to have the pockets to stick all the extra accessories in.
All your extra film packs of Kodak.
No, like the attachments on the lenses and stuff. I have no idea if that's.
I
why.
think that whoever's in
That's your
charge
reason.
of them needs to teach them like defensive players for polling linemen to keep your head on a swivel, so you always know just when a guy might be coming, and that way you might not accidentally get Sean Paytoned and blow your knee out.
But
I was just gonna say,
multiple.
This is what's happening.
An epidemic.
This is an issue apparently. They need more legislation, keep people on the field more.
Because when we went to the Vikings game, something that I was surprised at were the lack of people on the sidelines. You know, they're all confined to the 30s, basically.
Yeah.
And you know, there's a ton of room. You know,
not as many people as you thought.
No.
I think it's not as easy to get out of the way because if you're really,
Mike Tice is still
really
limping around.
anchored in for the good shot, you're in there. You're looking.
And when you're looking through,
you gotta stay in there for the good shot.
Yeah, you feel like you're detached from what's actually happening.
Yeah. And all of a sudden you're like, wow, that guy is.
And then your knee gets detached from your leg.
I mean, I understand that. I just think they need to teach them like you would teach little kids about like being near heavy traffic roads. Okay. Like the field is a heavy traffic road. You don't want to, I understand sometimes you have to get close, but pay attention for the really fast cars.
So look both ways for you're taking pictures.
On the edge of the field, there should be yellow signs that have football guys, and it's like the crosswalk. And then,
it's a sign of a 240-pound fullback just crushing a guy right across the chest.
Yeah. Good stuff.
Yeah, it is. Which guy are we picking to take our pictures?
I picked the Arizona State photographer.
Yeah,
he's got a hell of a.
He's got away with the ladies, so I want that guy.
Yeah.
Plus, he's got a nice hat.
Got a big hat.
Very nice hat.
Big hat.
Nothing against Minnesota guy, but big hat.
Yeah.
It's way cooler being in Oregon than in
It's a big hat. It's funny.
Right now.
Big hat.
It's orange. It's a big hat. It's funny.
It's funny. We'll be back later in the week with another episode of the Sports Lounge. We'll preview the North Dakota State SDSU football game, as well as look at the NFL and college football. And maybe have a surprise along the way as well. Any trivia question. And the World Series.
Oh, boy.
Oh, boy.
I can't believe we're talking baseball.
Random non-sports stuff we talk about.
Very random.
Absolutely. Coming up on the next episode of the Sports Lounge.